Hello and welcome. My name is JodieLynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness, and this is my dear friend Heather Marie.
Hi, I'm Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate, and welcome to Channel Squared, where we have extraordinary conversations about everyday life topics.
Yeah, and today we're talking about the bright future ahead. We're on the cusp of a new earth, and while so many are focused on dismantling of the old structures and the fear and uncertainty that ensues with all of that, we ask you, our guides ask you, the universe God is asking you to look to the future. The future holds a frequency of ease, joy, and bliss. It is more in every way than you could ever imagine. It is where humanity truly becomes one. Boom.
Episode over.
No. Episode over. That's right. It could be as simple as that. It's so interesting that as humans, we complicate everything.
It's so true. It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, but we get stuck. So there's a lot of things going on right now geopolitically within the world, our nations, with health, with money, with all of the things. Just watch TikTok enough, you'll see all the conspiracies that some of them have been coming to light as true fact. And there's been this conversation about things being dismantled, the structures that we live by every single day. And that has incited a lot of fear within people. I know that I'm seeing it in my country here in Canada, and I know you're seeing it in the States, but people are asking, what do I do? And it seems even myself, I'm guilty of this, focusing on and falling prey to my own perceptions of how this is going to look. Like, for example, if the financial system, is dismantled, and there's this gap in between it and the replacement new earth currency, all of this coming to light, my immediate assumption is, this is gonna be a rough ride. But it doesn't have to be. And I think that's one of the things we want to focus on today is, what are your perceptions going into this? What do you perceive it will look like? Because that's the future that you're drawing in. What are your thoughts, Heather?
The thing is that you create from thoughts sometimes. And if you get focused on what's not working, we're going to have more of what's not working. Mm-hmm. Where if we all kind of come together and create from a place of where we want to be, free, maybe a better currency, love currency. We've talked about that, where the systems that are dismantling are replaced with better,
always
easier.
Better.
Yeah. I know that there's a lot of fear around this stuff breaking down, but the fact is that it needs to break down in order for something new to be built. Mm-hmm. Can we build simultaneously? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So let's start focusing on what we want it to be, mm-hmm. as opposed to clinging to what isn't working.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think some people are just waking up to the fact that it isn't working. A lot of these structures, a lot of new information is coming to light, a lot of truth on how the system actually runs and how distorted it has been over centuries. Mm-hmm. But it is the way that it's been for our collective lifetime. Like my, almost 37 years on the planet, you're 25 years on the planet. Anybody that's watching this, you grew up with this system. Mm-hmm. And to imagine that there's going to be something different can incite fear. And if you think about, market crashes or, the health system being dismantled, I think our first thought is that that's going to be messy and it's going to be hard. And we're imagining what the future could possibly look like. But our imagination has also been distorted. We've we've been taught not to utilize our imagination, whatsoever. I mean, we could go on for days about how even just public policy within our nations cripples innovation.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And something that I really love about children is they're still thinking like out here, right? They're still connected to the other side. They're still bringing in information from the other side. And I think that, in times like these, when I have hair that's like trying to get in my eye, excuse me, everybody. It's times like these when things are, uncomfortable, that it's really easy to get paralyzed into this, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to fix this? Like, I'm helpless to this. But if you look at a child, when they see something that's not working, they don't necessarily just immediately throw a temper tantrum. They try this way, they try that way. They'll divide and conquer parents to get what they need, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is it's like, if we can come back to that place of creativity, it allows us to, be more open to receive, divine inspired information. Like, it allows the universe to co-create with us more what it is that we're wishing to have, as opposed to being subjected to what we don't want.
Absolutely. Such an interesting conversation. So I'm thinking about the future. What does New Earth look like? What does New Earth feel like? Let's imagine for a moment what those things would look like to help everyone else start to brainstorm. And I'm not saying that this is in fact exactly what it's going to be. But I think the more that we have open conversations about, our wishes for the future, what we hope for, and start breaking the possibility of, and that linear thinking of what is, I think the better off we'll be. And it'll be even better than we could ever imagine.
Yeah, definitely. When I think about, if I had it all my way, what would this new earth look like? Like, what does the bright future look like to me? When I envision it of a place where there is equity, right? Where everybody is experiencing life as life, not experiencing life as, I have more money than you, or I have more of cars, or I have more friends, or I have more, there's not this imbalance of this, right? People are so secure in who they are as a soul that none of that shit matters, right? They can just stand in who they actually are inside of the meat suit that they are wearing. I was talking to somebody earlier today about someone that we know, and we were talking about how it's so interesting that they are so insecure and how they hide behind words and language, right? And they're not confident people. And it makes me wonder, why? Is there a way to assist this human in reconnecting with who they really are so that they don't feel inferior? I think that sometimes when people, create their experience, they're creating it from a place of inferiority, or they're insecure in who they actually are. And in my bright future, everybody knows who they are. They know who they are. They know why they came here, and it's about, let's create together. Let's be with one another and like share in the gifts.
Imagine a humanity that felt secure within their own skin, who felt provided for, like completely provided for, and is following, their highest blissful experience, rather than this egoic perspective of I need this and I need this to be good enough. Imagine a humanity that already knew they are good enough right where they stand, regardless of what they look like or what they have. Imagine what experiences would be like after that. Because I mean, we've all done it at some point in our lives where we've tanked our own experience walking into like a meeting or an event or whatever. And you're like, oh my God, am I dressed appropriately? And we get all in our head. And instead of being inside of our head, wondering if we're doing it all right, imagine having that confidence, being rooted, feeling secure, and showing up with your light on and open and bright and ready to be in the experience, to be present with the words that you're saying and the emotions that you're feeling, all of it together. That's beautiful. And imagine what you would create. Sorry to cut you off.
Right.
But imagine what you would create if you in this moment right now, we took away all of the things that made you feel insecure and feel like you don't have enough and feel scared and whatever. We take all of that away and you have everything that you need, and anything you desire is possible. Imagine standing in that spot and looking at the world. What would you create? What would your day look like? What would you spend your time on? What a beautiful question to ask ourselves.
Definitely. And, this, as we're talking, it reminds me of something that you said last week about how you wake up and how you prepare for the day. When I think it was in your Insta stories, and you had mentioned that, if you, wake up and you're like looking at your calendar and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be such a hard day. This is just, I've got so much on my plate. I've got to do all these things. And guess what? The universe responds with, she wants a hard day. And so
she wants it to be exhausting.
Exactly. So, if we create a new story, if we create our story every day, that it's going to be easy. It's going to be abundant. It's going to be beautiful. Everything is going to be more colorful. I have everything that I need and then some to share with everybody. What kind of bright future will that create? The universe, if getting this order over and over and over again from everyone in the world, holy shit, we would have like, I don't know, maybe it'd explode. Who knows? Let's try it.
Explode with love.
Until I get all excited about this topic, I'm like, oh yes, let's do it.
Two things that I want to touch on there. First thing is, as people are listening to this conversation, I want you to check your own perspectives. Like, I was having a session last week with a mastermind group, and we were talking about it. It has to be hard, how that's a perspective, but we were also talking about what if it was easy. If it was easy, a lot of people have taken that to mean about them personally, that if they receive something easily, then, they're not worthy of it. They don't deserve it. There's all of these things. These are all perceptions, that you have been programmed with over your lifetime. Us too. We've just done some work on, eliminating those programs and shifting to something that's more supportive of what we want to see. But if that came up when we were talking about, imagine a life of ease. Imagine walking into your day being like, ooh, excited and joyful. And, what am I going to create today? And the sky is the limit truly with your imagination, which is growing all the time. If any of that, your mind immediately said, no, not possible. I want you to spend some time with yourself and really dig into that, because that perception is limiting the possibility of your future, limiting you and putting you into this box of what you've always had, which is not what you want for the future. That's my assumption. Is that most people don't want the world that we have today. And the second thing, as you were talking, Heather, and you're talking about people coming from this space, my guides were like, bringing forward a picture of I've seen different studies on water and different studies on plants. Like when you talk to them with love, the crystals in the water, when they freeze differently, and they're so beautiful and extravagant and whatever. And plants do better. They, have more leaves, they produce more, and whatever. It's just that frequency of the way that you're talking to them and spreading love. Now, like 10x that, a million times that, I don't know, a billion times that. Imagine, maybe it starts with a smaller pocket of the world starts living their life from this space, and then that ripples out, and then eventually the entire world is beaming. Imagine, the way that life would look, even just plants and the animals and water and all of these things that touch our lives on a daily basis, how different the experience and the exchange between it all would truly be living from this space.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. I joke about like, what would happen? Would the world explode? Should we try it? I mean, really, I really feel like if everybody could get on board, instead of fighting with each other, instead of woe is me, I know that there's a lot going on in the world right now. And there is a lot of, dangerous experiences for some portions of the world. But it doesn't require a whole lot. It requires a vision of what you want it to look like. It requires putting some energy behind that vision. And it requires taking inspired action every day.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of action. Universe doesn't need a lot from you. It just needs to know you're serious.
Yeah. And that you want to walk that line, that direction, that you're open to it. It's like cleaning out your closet and, or having a full closet and expecting, the money to come for new clothes when you don't have room for new clothes.
Right.
Ooh, I should clean out my closet.
I was just thinking that very thought. That's so funny. I was like, I'm like, that's a good idea. I better write that down.
Yeah, exactly. It's so interesting. We're often locked into this perception that things are going to take time to change, but I want to share something, an experience that happened the other day. A friend and I, to help you break this perspective, a friend and I were having breakfast, and I remember sitting down and looking at the coffee machine because I was facing like the coffee bar. And I remember looking at this coffee machine, and it was red and I could see the logo on it, but it didn't look right. Like I'd never seen a machine with this logo on it. It was Tim Hortons. And I did it like a couple of double takes because I didn't think what I was seeing was actually reality. Like it just didn't fit for some reason. And every time I looked, it was Tim Hortons, Tim Hortons, Tim Hortons. And I thought, that's so odd. And I remember thinking this. Then I'm present in my conversation with my friend, and, we start talking about timeline jumping and just some things that she's learning and stuff like that. And I was like, well, let's try it. Let's try to be in a different timeline when we, leave here, essentially. And it's like, okay, well, whatever. We set some intentions around it. And it was just from this place of curiosity and excitement and joy and like, ooh, what could we do? We walk up to the counter to pay. At about 3.5 hours later, we just had this long, beautiful lunch, breakfast, whatever. We're just chit-chatting. And I go up to the counter, and my friend is right behind me. And I like look up, and I'm now like right in front of this coffee machine, and it no longer says Tim Hortons.
What did it say?
It said Nescafe or something.
What?
It was a completely different brand. Same machine, same color of machine, but completely different writing on it now. And I was like, oh my God, we did it. We're in a different timeline. Oh my God. And the lady's like, are you pointing at our coffee machine? I should have asked her if it was, if it was Tim Hortons before at some point. But that just solidified for me that there are multiple timelines available within this space right now. And you can start playing with it and playing with jumping into a timeline that better serves where you want to go or where you want to be in this moment. And we can do that with ourselves when it comes to our frequency. If you're feeling a lot of fear, I talked about that also last week on my Instagram stories, is like, sit with it. It's super uncomfortable and people don't like doing it. I don't like doing it either. No fun. No.
Yeah.
But necessary, super necessary, because every time I try to avoid all of these feelings and just stuff them down and just be positive, it's temporary and all of the feelings come back. And I find that as intense as it can be sitting with the feelings, just like sit down and breathe and feel into them. Doing that, sometimes the feelings get really intense, but then boom, it's over. And I can start shifting into something more. And we have the capacity to call forward that frequency of abundance, of joy, of ease in any moment and have it wash over you. It's available. So use that as a tool when you're feeling not really yourself, or you're feeling the world everywhere, everything that's going on, you're feeling all of that. And maybe your spouse came home and they're not having a good day. And, that's, in the back of your mind, and you're feeling all of this stuff. Remember that you have these tools available, that access to that divine energy.
Well, and I think that you touched on something that's really important, and I don't want it to get lost in this conversation. You said when you are experiencing these feelings and you feel these feelings coming up, don't just stuff them back down. Mm-hmm. Right? And just put on the mask of happy. Everything is great. Life is wonderful. I want to talk about authenticity, right? Like, be authentically who you are. It's okay to have all the feelings. That's what you came here for. Earth is all about the feelings, right? Mm-hmm. Being human is all about the feelings. So when you are experiencing these moments where you're like, woe is me, or oh gosh, or you're just having all of this emotional stuff come up, sit with it and enjoy the ride of it, even if it's painful. Mm-hmm. It's only temporary. Mm-hmm. There's no need to stuff it down. Mm-hmm. I think that if more people, and gosh, I hope I don't regret saying this, but I think if more people had the temper tantrum, it would be here and gone.
Yes.
As opposed to here, and then it kind of builds up, and then it builds up, and it builds up until it becomes an explosion. And now we have nuclear war in our living room with our spouse, or with our children, or our parents, or whatever, right?
Or your dog.
Yeah, or countries.
Exactly.
I mean, the thing is it's like, if you communicate what it is that you're experiencing, you're being authentic to who you are.
Yeah.
And we're 100%. All just here having this experience. Mm-hmm. Doesn't make anybody right or wrong.
Yeah. And it's not a bad thing to feel your feelings. Let's just cut that out of our belief system right now. It's healthy. It's the reason why we came to a planet that had polarity, so we could experience both, and it's not fun, but on the scale of fun, I would rather feel it right now in this moment versus waiting and having that big explosion. For me, since I started like going within and feeling those feelings, sometimes I forget to, because sometimes it's hard. There's a lot of feeling there. And when I forget, I try to remind myself, oh yeah, like I catch it a whole lot quicker than I used to, a couple of days versus, months of this feeling building, or a couple of hours rather than days. Like it's getting faster and faster. But I was feeling something the other day and I really just sat with it because I couldn't move it. And that resistance to not being able to move that feeling is my cue. And it can be your cue, you know, if that's what you want to use, but that's what I use, is that resistance to, I can't move from feeling like crap. Which means I need to sit down and acknowledge it and sit with it. And when I do that every single time, literally, it's like seconds or minutes and it goes through me.
Yeah.
You know, and it just feels, you feel so much better. You're like, okay, it's all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And once it moves through, you can get back to creating what it is that you want your experience to be like.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%. Instead,
it sounds easy. We recognize that it's not easy all the time, but you know, in theory, it's pretty easy. You know, and as soon as you take hard out of the equation or even out of your language, you will see just how easy it is.
And you know what, when you say that, it makes me think of, in comparison to what, like hard in comparison to what? You've been through a lot of stuff in your life. We've all been through a lot of stuff in our lives, individually as well as collectively. Feeling some feelings, even in the hardest moments of my life, aren't as hard as some of the things that I've been through in my life. And I made it through those just fine.
Exactly.
Actually better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Better. So, but you know, it's kind of like, let's talk about, I want to give an example. I want to give some examples so that people, as you're listening, maybe that some of this will kind of relate to you. So I'm going to use the example of a relationship that I was in. I talk about this relationship a lot because it was really a pivotal point in my life where I chose me. I chose me. I loved that person, but I loved me more. And that just what it boiled down to, right? I could continue to be in this relationship, be in this experience, and you know, the pieces of me could continue to die every day as they were doing in the relationship. And I decided I wanted to create a brighter future. I wanted more out of my life. Now, when I decided, when I made the choice that I was no longer going to have this limitation in my life, everything, I mean, it was like the universe rolled out the red carpet for me. The universe was like, oh, you're done suffering. Okay, let me help you. What would you like? Oh, a place to live on the beach? Yes, definitely, most definitely. Oh, you don't want to pay anything for it? Of course, no problem. Oh, you want, you know, to make sure that you've got plenty of money coming in? We'll keep you nice and busy, don't you worry. You know, oh, you don't want to think about how, you know, how this is all going? No problem. We're going to give you some really fun shit to distract you with. Right?
Yeah.
It was literally like, I mean, I couldn't have, it was silver platter for me, you know, and it was really beautiful creating with the universe that way, you know, and it changed my life. Every aspect of my life changed the day that I decided that I was important to the universe, to the world, to me. I was important to me.
I just got chills when you said that phrase. I am important to me. What a beautiful phrase.
And I
Everybody
think, you know,
write that down.
Yeah, really. I mean, I think sometimes that we forget that, you know, that it's not just about everybody that you're serving. You know, I know as like healers and intuitives, guides, you know, the healing space that we all work in, we tend to forget sometimes about us. And we'll put our needs on the back burner. And, you know, if you are a mother, you definitely can resonate with this. You probably haven't had a shower in 3 days and you can't even remember the last time you washed your hair. Right. So like, but the important thing is that you have to matter to you.
Yeah.
If you don't matter to you, Why would the universe want to create a bright future for something that doesn't even care about itself? And I'm not saying be completely selfish and don't care about anybody else. That is not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is the love that you give to everybody else, you need to give to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to create and you want to build and you want this bright future, you need to be worthy to yourself to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Completely
agree. The end.
The end.
It's so true. And I think we get into this savior complex of I must save people. And they they need to go through me to do this or that or the other thing. And we become like try to be superheroes. And I think the shift that I've made over, at least for sure, the last year is really shifting to being my own superhero and giving people the tools to be their own superhero for themselves, because it is important. Yeah, it's so good. When we think about the future, something that's come up a lot and people that I'm talking about is like, what are the next steps? What's it going to look like? And, I've channeled a lot of stuff on the next steps, and so have you. And as we know, there's always this little asterisk on it that's like timeline subject to change.
So true.
They actually used that this morning with me when I was channeling. Timeline subject to change, because things are moving, and as a new decision is made, it could change the course or alter the course slightly or significantly. And I think the more people doing what we're saying today, focusing on the future, starting to break those possibilities of what that path looks like to said future, the timeline is really going to change. Things are going to be altered. So, for whatever topic it is that you're thinking about, dismantle and destruction and, whatever, right? Whether it's the war or, mandates or financial or whatever, kind of map out for you what you're worried about and what you think the worst case scenario is. I love doing this because when I can see the bottom line of something, it no longer scares me, because the bottom line, if let's go financial for a second here, let's say there's a complete dismantling of the financial system as we know it today, a complete dismantling of, the currency that we utilize today. Then what? Then there is no money. Well, then what? How do you get food? How do you get this? How do you pay your bills? That's one thing that, my husband asked me. Well, how do you pay your mortgage? Will there be a mortgage? What's the potential there? Right. And I want to be mindful, because I know that there is a one world government, one world currency. You'll own nothing, you'll be happy scenario going on out there. And I think that when you look to the future, there could be some similarities in things that you're seeing, and just to keep them separate in your own mind. One is someone, a elite circle of people amassing complete control of the entire world. And the other, New Earth, is about the individual souls on Earth taking their sovereign control back and living from that space and co-creating with one another. So they're two very, very different things, but as humans, we have limited vocabulary. And I just felt my guides nudge me to remind me to say that. So my husband and I were talking about this, like, what's going to happen with this? What's going to happen with that? And the immediate thing that came up for me was like, well, this is going to be a rough ride. Because I support people in the financial industry, because I have money myself, because, we have bills ourselves. Like, I think everyone can relate to this piece of it. So I want you to do the homework for yourself, if you're listening to this, of just mapping it out for yourself, what you're afraid of, what you're afraid that path will look like. And start then start questioning it. Is that the only possibility? And that's what my guides told me. They always drop in abundance codes. So they're like, is that the only possibility, that it's going to be rough? Don't you want to go to New Earth where it's ease and joy and peace and, everything that we've already described today? Yes, absolutely. Isn't that exciting? Yes. So is it possible that the road to that place is vastly different than the one theory or the one linear thought that you have of how we're going to get there? Yes. Billions of possibilities exist. It could be, that maybe a possibility is that you don't even recognize that it's actually going on because you have, your own home and your own space and you love it. And, I don't know, maybe something comes along to pay all of your debts. So you have no debts. So you're not actually worried about that. Like can you see how there's a different possibility or many billions of possibilities that actually exist on how we get from here to there? Like, what if it just goes down and then everybody's like, yay, kumbaya? That feels less likely to me because there's resistance there. But that's a resistance that was created in my own mind based on beliefs that I've had my entire life, these last 36 and 3/4 of my life have conditioned me to see it. And I see that is one possibility. And if more people got on board, then it could be a very likely possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, I think that, all of the fear around where we're headed is really just a construct of the human brain,
mm-hmm.
And that's okay. It's okay that there's this construct inside the human mind that says, this is an impossibility. I cannot logically map any way that this will actually occur and that everybody will be okay. It just doesn't have that capacity. And that's okay because miracles, they happen every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day.
And they just need a small opening,
Just the tiniest thing.
The tiniest
and
bit.
That tiny little thing is just faith. Faith that it's going to all work out.
Mm-hmm.
We came through the Great Depression, people.
Yeah.
Were there casualties? Of course. Right? Did those casualties sign up to be casualties before they came here? Probably. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's orchestrated.
Yeah.
All we got to do is believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing is by chance. I truly believe that. It's so interesting. I was doing some journaling and some reframing probably about a month ago on being pregnant, getting pregnant, like all of this stuff, because we have had this adventurous ride trying to have children. And it was so interesting. One of the things that came up, and I feel it's so important to share, was like, my guides were kind of like getting frustrated with me because I just wasn't opening up. I was just like, oh, well, I don't know. They're like, so who decides that you're going to have kids? I don't know, like me. Oh, okay. So you decide everything that happens. Like it's no longer by chance, no longer by divine timing or, divine intervention or, it's just all up to you and the human meat suit you wear. And I'm like, that directly goes against all of my beliefs because I do believe that there is a higher purpose. I do believe that everything happens for a reason. I do believe that there's a path. So it doesn't, like, it's right up against the belief system that I have, what I was just saying. And that's what they were trying to show me, is that there's this piece of faith that you forgot inside of this journaling session that I was doing, this piece of faith that you were given this dream for a reason of having kids, and you feel it in your heart, and I've channeled my children, like I feel it very, very close. It's your brain saying, oh no, it's up to me. That's an old belief system that no longer applies to the magical stuff that you're doing now in the here and now, right? And when I stepped back from that and really thought about that, right, I'm trying to control something. But I also believe in divine timing. I need to let go of the control and allow God to lead, allow the universe to lead, and allow them to do the work. Because, hindsight is 2020. There's a reason why it hasn't happened yet. And I don't know what that is. And I'm okay with that. So applying that same principle of faith, of this faith of a better world, if you can begin imagining a place where it's ease, there's ease, the old structures have been dismantled and new ones have emerged that you couldn't possibly imagine, but that they take care of you. You're divinely supported in any and every way possible. If you actually believe like 1/10 that is possible, then you need to succumb to the faith that there's a bigger system at play, or there's something bigger at play right now helping us navigate and get through this to the other side and bring that forth. I think that's important.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yes. So really challenge yourself as you're thinking about it. It's going to be this, and then this, and then this, and then this, challenge it. Is that the only way? Is there another way? And I always think of it like a grip. We have a grip on our belief systems or our perceptions. It's like this, right? And when you start questioning it, the grip loosens and loosens and loosens and loosens. And that's what creates space for something new to come in and something to surprise you. And I find it so interesting too, when I take a breath and I come back to the four walls around me, the place where I live on a beautiful farm. We have this beautiful warehouse, like I have food, all of these things. When I come back to that, I'm safe here. I'm provided here. I'm, expansive here. And all of the crazy shit that's going on in the world, when I turn off all of my devices, it's no longer happening. It's just me. In a big field, and my puppy and my husband.
Of course. As you were talking, something that dropped in was the spiritual term that kind of gets thrown around, flies around a lot, of the dark night of the soul, right? It's this moment where, you are in the thick of it, and it is, dark and maybe a little tumultuous, and you're experiencing almost like a death, right? You're like experiencing an ego death, or some aspect that has been in your experience is dying or has died, right? You might even feel like your soul is dying because it's so painful. And the thing that they wanted to remind us is that when you're going through these dark night of the soul moments, to remember that as with every death comes creation. Every year in the fall, when all the leaves come off of the trees and the trees look like they've died, there's literally no life in that tree. And somehow in the spring, all the leaves come back. And so they're talking about as these moments of death and destruction and the elimination of things from our experience is occurring, remember that there is birth and newness on the horizon, because where we're going, it's bright, it's beautiful, and it's full of love, and it's just waiting for us to arrive.
I think we could end on that note. That's just mic drop.
Thank you to the collective.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for being such a powerful connection to them.
It's my pleasure. What do we have on board for next week?
Follow the signs. So we're talking about how to connect with that piece of you, that intuition, and follow the signs that you're being shown to go over here, go over there. You know, we're gonna have an in-depth conversation about that. So think of some questions that you can ask. Make sure you bring a friend and just put it in your schedule to show up live with us. We would love to have you. And if you loved this conversation today, click that like button. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and you have notifications on so you never miss an episode with us. Thank you so much for being here today. We truly appreciate it. We're sending you guys lots of love and lots of beautiful, bright, intentions for the future so that we can all co-create this beautiful place together.
Oh, I can't wait till we get there. Love y'all. Bye.